Okay, good morning, everyone. I'd like to call this public meeting to order if everyone would please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes from our last Commissioners meeting.
Motion. Second.
On the question, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it, and the minutes have been approved. Now is the opportunity for the public to address the board on agenda items only. Would anyone like to address the board on agenda items?
Joan Hodawan, Scranton. With regard to Resolution 24-0244, the amendment to the Inmate Communication Services Agreement, I want to express my appreciation for this coming forward as a resolution, I guess, from the prison board last month. Anything that facilitates literacy among our population is a very good thing, especially among prison inmates, many of whom don't even have a GED. Some of them are functionally illiterate. Some of them are using English as a second language. This is a very good use of canteen funds for the welfare of the prison population. So I very much hope that this will be passed unanimously, and I wish anything that facilitates literacy and the improvement of our inmate population, I hope you would continue to support. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Would anyone else like to address the board on agenda items only? Okay. Seeing that there is no one, we do have a proclamation that we are going to present. This is to the Scranton Fringe Festival for their 10th anniversary in Lackawanna County. And the speaker today will be the Scranton Fringe Festival co-founder and executive director, Connor Kelly O'Brien. I don't know if, oh, there's Connor. So I'm going to read this into the record, Connor, and then I'll turn it over to you. Whereas the Scranton Fringe Festival is an award-winning arts organization that has been producing innovative work since 2015, dedicated to creating a bold, engaging platform for thought-provoking art while striving to promote Northeast Pennsylvania as a viable creative environment. And whereas, over the past decade, it has grown into one of Lackawanna County's premier cultural events, showcasing a wide variety of performances including theater, music, dance, comedy, and spoken word. The Scranton Fringe Festival has made a significant economic impact, driving foot traffic to local businesses, restaurants, and cultural venues. And whereas the festival has played a crucial role in enriching the art scene in Lackawanna County, providing a platform for both emerging and established artists to showcase diverse and inclusive storytelling, fostering a sense of community pride. The Fringe Festival has been instrumental in positioning Scranton as a vibrant arts and cultural destination, attracting visitors and artists from across the country and, in fact, the world. And whereas the 2024 festival marks a significant milestone, celebrating a decade of artistic innovation and community engagement. Partnering with local organizations, educational institutions, and businesses to create a unique, collaborative event that benefits the wider community. Now, therefore, we, Bill Gaughan, Matt McGloin, and Chris Chermak, Commissioners of Lackawanna County, do hereby proclaim September 26th to October 6th, 2024, as Scranton Fringe Festival 10th Anniversary Week in Lackawanna County. And Connor, if you want to come up and talk about it.
Good morning. Good morning, Commissioners. Thank you for your time. What a wonderful turnout for the arts. No. As if there was something else on the agenda. I wanted to thank the commissioners and your entire staff. I need to give particular thanks to Maureen McGuigan and her entire team at the Arts and Culture Department, Kristen Magnata at Economic Development, and Sarah at the Area Agency on Aging. We work with numerous departments within the county. The festival is ongoing through September 6th. We have everything from stage readings of our own native Stephen Karam Tony Award winners plays. We have free children's programming at the Lackawanna County Children's Library. I wanted to highlight and thank our partners at the Business Honors Program program at the University of Scranton. In that wonderful proclamation, Commissioner, you mentioned our economic impact. The students of that program, under the leadership of Dr. McCage, have confirmed that our little festival generates about $250,000 a year in Lackawanna County, and that's just our festival, not our year-round programming. And we're one small arts organization in a sea of so many cultural institutions in Lackawanna County, so we always want to stress not just the educational and wellness and cultural vibrancy the arts bring, but the economic hard facts that they return to our community. We really hope people get out there. We have some incredible things this coming weekend and on the horizon for next year. International exchanges with our sister city in Ireland is a program we're working on, and further programming to expand. The list could go on and on. I won't take up any more of your time. Thank you so much for that wonderful proclamation, and we hope to see people at the festival. Thank you.
Thank you. And Connor, we'd like to present you with the proclamation.
So much. Yeah, with an audience. Thank you so much. Just hold that. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you, Commissioners.
Okay, first order of business is ordinance 24-0241.
Thank you. Yes, Mr. Chairman, this is the first reading of ordinance 294. It's an ordinance of the Board of Commissioners of Lackawanna County, Pennsylvania, authorizing the lease of certain real property to the Redevelopment Authority of the County of Lackawanna pursuant to a lease agreement declaring the guarantee of said authority's guaranteed lease revenue note for the benefit of the County of Lackawanna to be a project of the county for which lease rental debt is to be incurred, determining to incur lease or rental debt in the principal amount not to exceed $12 million in respect of said project. Such debt to be evidenced by the county sublease and guarantee agreement with respect to that said note. Now therefore be it enacted and ordained by the Board of Commissioners of the County of Lackawanna, Pennsylvania. The county authorizes and requests that the authority to undertake and proceed with the project. The county hereby declares the guarantee of the authority's note, the proceeds which will be used for the project to be a project of the county for which lease rental debt is to be incurred in the principal amount not to exceed $12 million. The county hereby authorizes the incurring lease rent debt in the form of a sublease and guarantee agreement to secure the payment of principal or redemption price of and interest on the note. Chairman or vice chairman of the board, or the chief of staff or deputy chief of staff of the county are hereby each authorized and directed to execute and deliver and to affix and attest the corporate seal of the county to the sublease and the guarantee agreement. The chairman, the vice chairman of the board, or the chief of staff or the deputy chief of staff of the county are hereby each authorized and directed to execute, attest, seal, and deliver the lease agreement. The proper officers of the county are hereby authorized jointly and severally to any and all other things necessary to effectuate the issuance, execution, delivery, and sale of the note and the project of the financing of the project. Mr. Chairman, this is the first reading. We will have a second reading in 2 weeks, and at that point, you guys will end up taking a vote.
Okay. And Mr. Bolzoni and Scott Shear from PFM are here to discuss.
All right, well, good morning, Commissioners. So I believe at your last work session, Mr. Bolzoni and the county's bond counsel reviewed them, kind of the mechanics of the transaction. I think this morning just kind of went hit on more of the financial implications with the proposed transaction. So I just plan on kind of going through a couple of these pages in the handout. If we start on page 2, so as was read kind of in minutes, we're looking at basically a lease sublease transaction through the redevelopment authority. Kind of lots of different tests that the county needs to do to be able to determine the final amount of the borrowing. The maximum amount that we have in there is $12 million. You'll see the schedules that we have in here right now, and Mr. Bolzoni can speak a little bit more to it. We're estimating probably the need for about $11 million. That's going to be fine-tuned as time goes on, but kind of based on sort of internal calculations, based on external calculations from the county's consultant, that's kind of where we're looking at right at the moment. The purpose of this transaction is basically be able to provide some working capital funds for the county to be able to continue to pay the bills through the end of the year. And again, we can speak a little bit more to that. The point of this transaction is obviously to do it as efficiently as possible. So the structure that we have come up with allows the county to do this on a tax-exempt basis, which is obviously the preferred method to do, i.e. lower rate. We did send out basically an RFQ or our request for interest for some of the local banks. We do have a consortium of banks that have partnered here, led by Fidelity Bank and also teamed up with Wayne Bank and People's Bank, that submitted a proposal that ultimately, will be before you for approval for the second reading if it goes to that. The bank and the consortium of banks basically put two offers on the table: a fixed rate proposal where the rate would not change during the life of the loan, and another with a variable rate component. Based on the current interest rate environment, and probably more so the future interest rate environment, we're recommending going with the variable rate transaction. Right now, that variable rate is about a 5.99% based on what the bank's proposal laid out. We do expect the Fed to continue to cut rates. We just saw a substantial cut here a few weeks ago. Expect some more this calendar year and some more next calendar year. And that's basically what that chart in the middle of page 2 illustrates, is that, again, no one knows for sure exactly what's going to happen with the market, but I think the consensus is that we do expect, it's not a guarantee, but we do expect, sort of based on those blue boxes, that we should see substantial decrease in the Fed funds rate, the short-term interest rate this year and through next year, which will have a direct impact then on the lending rate that the bank will be offering for the county. So that'll obviously realize in lower debt service that the county will be paying. So that would be a recommendation, again, is to go with the variable rate transaction. And as far as the timeline, back on September 25th was the workshop. This morning, first reading. We have a special meeting with the Redevelopment Authority scheduled for tomorrow to review kind of the same information. And then October 16th would be the final consideration of the ordinance. And then the transaction would close about mid-November, which is the expected date of when the county will need the money to finish out the calendar year to continue to pay the bills. And then probably most importantly, page 3, this is what it looks like with the variable rate structure. The green column, that is the variable rate. That assumes the 5.99 based on what the Fed did the other week. And so you see in column 6, assuming an $11 million transaction, it's actually a little bit over $11 million to cover the cost of issuance. The ultimate amount of money available to the county in this scenario would be $11 million. We structured as a 10-year payback period. And so you can see the annual payment's about $1.6 million. It is a fair amount less than the fixed rate proposal, which is beside it there in column 8 to the right. But again, this does not factor in the green any additional rate cuts that we may see from the Fed. And so basically every 50 basis points of a Fed rate cut should translate into about a $400,000 reduction in interest earnings over life. So again, pretty substantial. So that's why, again, we're pretty optimistic that the variable rate proposal will be the best to go with. And then the rest of this is basically kind of more detail, but I think it was important to sort of talk about the proposal led by Fidelity Bank and also talk about the debt service impact. And I think from a big picture standpoint, obviously we've been working with Mr. Balzoni and the county on the overall financing plan with everything the county has going on. This has been baked into the overall plan as far as kind of the affordability and the overall debt service impact from the different kind of transactions that we've been doing over the past year or two. So, again, this is all basically part of the overall package that we've been looking at here over some time. So, Dave, I don't know if you have anything to add.
Good morning. There's really not too much to add beyond what we've already discussed. While you may view the transaction as having some complexity, there's a degree of simplicity to all of this. If we don't do the transaction, we run out of money. I mean, that forecast has been reinforced by what I've said in the past. It's also been reinforced by the information that has been provided by the consultant who has been preparing the strategic management planning program report. I think it's relatively important that we advance this. It's part of the overall consideration of what we're trying to do to get us to the other side. And as everyone is well aware, this fiscal year has been an incredible challenge. We expect that this is part of what we hope will be the solution, and we look forward to having it advanced to get us through the end of the year.
Thank you. Are there any questions for Mr. Shearer or Mr. Bolzoni? Dave, just so we're clear, and I know we talked about this during the work session, but are we correct in saying that due to the financial crisis that we face in the county, we don't have a choice but to move this forward? It's not like there's any wiggle room, correct?
Well, as I had just said, there is a degree of simplicity to this. If we don't do the transaction, we run out of money.
Okay. Thank you.
And Dave, just so I think everybody's clear here, the county's never done something like this before, but it's a very common finance method used throughout the state. And it's a way for us to be able to use the Debt Act to not have to carry that 13th month of bills that really fell onto us. This is going to pay for that. We'll pay the authority back over the next 10 years. And what it is essentially is a short-term fix to a long inherited problem, right? We're picking up the bills from the previous administration and simply paying them.
Well, it's no coincidence that the amount of the borrowing coincides with the amount of payables that were carried over into this year. The only way you make up that number is if your revenues significantly outperform your expenditures. That certainly isn't the case. We reviewed that information for the last several months with the consultant who's been preparing the fiscal report for the program. So with that said, there really aren't too many choices. If your revenues outperformed, it would give you the ability to manage this process and maybe look at an amount that might be less than what we've approached the board with. But that's not the case. And that's part of the challenge, that revenues just haven't outperformed. I think it's been discussed about the relative performance of the assessed valuation of county property and how that hasn't increased relative to the expenditures of the county operation. And since the assessed valuation drives your principal revenue source, unless that outperforms, you're going to have challenges. And that's pretty much where we're at right now.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Thanks.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, so we'll take a final vote on that on October 16th will be the second reading. So if there's any questions, make sure you put them in writing to Mr. Bolzoni or Mr. Jeffers. Okay, next up is Resolution 24-0247.
Mr. Chairman, this is approving the current payables. Be it resolved, the Board of Commissioners of Lackawanna County does hereby approve the following payables. Lackawanna County's general fund numbers 376-792-377-075 inclusive, totaling $2,938,081.05. The county's electronic fund transfers, including all payroll accounts, totaling $4,634,206.91. Adopted regular meeting of the Board of Commissioners of Lackawanna County held on October 2nd, 2024. Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. I'll entertain a motion to approve this resolution.
Motion.
Second.
On the question, all those in favor signify by saying aye. 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 Opposed? The ayes have it, and the resolution has been approved. Resolution 24-0242.
This is authorizing the filing of applications from the local share account grant program. Be it resolved that the Board of Commissioners of Lackawanna County is hereby authorized the submissions of grant applications to the Pennsylvania Department of Community and Economic Development through the Monroe County Local Share Grant Program on behalf of the various agencies as detailed. Number one, the Carbondale Chamber of Commerce, $200,000 for building renovations. Number two, Connell Park Little League, $54,070 for park equipment, backstop, and driveway reconstruction. Number three, the Griffin Pond Animal Rescue, $140,663 for purchase and installation of new energy recovery unit. Number four, the Hospice of the Sacred Heart, $92,042 facility renovations and equipment. The HDRC Community Center Incorporated, $218,295 for installation of ADA bathrooms in public recreation facility. Number six, Lakeland School District, Mayfield, $84,000 for purchase and installation of a playground. Number 7, also Lakeland School District, Mayfield, $20,265 for purchase, installation, and replacement of the stage curtain. Now therefore be it resolved, Lackawanna County hereby authorizes the chair of the Lackawanna County Board of Commissioners to sign and authorize all documents and accept any awards related to these Monroe County local share account grants. Adopted regularly meeting of the Board of Commissioners of Lackawanna County held on October 2nd, 2024. Mr. Chairman, here to speak upon that is the Economic Development Grants Manager, Ms. Sandy Obshinsky.
Good morning. This is, typical every year as part of the LSA Monroe process. None of these agencies or groups are eligible to submit applications on their own, so we assist them in that process. And then if awarded, we then can recoup some administrative dollars from the items that they're requesting.
Any questions for Ms. Obshinsky? Thank you.
Thank you.
I'll entertain a motion to approve this resolution.
Motion? Second.
On the question, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it, and the resolution has been approved. Resolution 24-0243.
This is approving a household hazardous waste service agreement. Be it resolved, the Board of Commissioners of Lackawanna County is hereby approve and enter into a household hazardous waste service agreement with MXI Environmental Services LLC for a county household hazardous waste collection event to be held on November 16th, 2024 at PNC Field, 235 Montage Mountain Road, Moosic, Pennsylvania, 18507. Adopted regularly meeting of the Board of Commissioners of Lackawanna County held on October 2nd, 2024. Mr. Chairman, here to speak upon that is the Director of Environmental Sustainability, Ms. Nicole Shapiro.
Thank you.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
So we are going to have our second ever Household Hazardous Waste event, November 16th. And so what you have before you is the contract for the same vendor we used last year, MXI Environmental Services. They have all of their permitting. The event last year was, I think it was flawless. It went really well. We're excited to work with them again. This year, I just wanted to mention that we are getting funding through the Department of Agriculture to help pay for any pesticides dropped off in the event. So we have $12,000 we can use for them. And then we will be applying for 50% reimbursement for the rest of the cost for the event. And so residents will also need to pre-register, which hopefully after this meeting, we'll have it up for, residents. Any questions?
Any questions? No, I think that was pretty straightforward. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Great job. I'll entertain a motion to approve this resolution.
Motion? Second.
On the question, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it, and the resolution has been approved. Resolution 24-0244.
This is approving an amendment to the Inmate Communications Service Agreement. Be it resolved, the Board of Commissioners of Lackawanna County is hereby enter into a fourth amendment with VIA Technologies, formerly GTI Corporation, for Lackawanna County Prison to provide premium ebook enhancement to the tablet program. The cost of the program will be $21,000 for the first year and $16,000 annually thereafter, to be funded by the canteen account after receiving a recommendation from the prison board. Adopted regularly meeting of the Board of Commissioners of Lackawanna County held on October 2nd, 2024. Mr. Chairman, the warden is unavailable to speak upon this, so I'll read from his expert. Upon authorization from the Board of Commissioners, VIAPATH will provide inmates at the Lackawanna County Prison with access to ebooks and audiobooks from over 5,000 publishers. This is a statewide library used by all of the state correctional institutions and will be paid for via the inmate canteen account. The books will be free of charge to the inmates and will be available through the tablets that are provided to the inmate population. Lackawanna County Prison Board voted in favor of this library system at its most recent meeting on September 18th, 2024. Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thank you. I'll entertain a motion to approve this resolution.
Motion? Second.
On the question,
Yeah, on the question, as Chief Jeffers had just mentioned, the prison board has authorized use of canteen money, so this will be no cost to the taxpayers to fund an ebook library system for inmate population. And Joe and I just want to thank you for what you said earlier, because I think you said it perfectly. This is something that will greatly increase the number of available reading materials for those housed at the prison. It will increase their options of activities, and maybe most importantly, will help improve the mental health some of those individuals as well.
Thank you. I'd also like to comment on this. Expanding reading opportunities within our prison system is not just an investment in education, it's an investment in the future of our entire community. Literacy is a critical tool for personal growth and rehabilitation. Many incarcerated individuals lack fundamental reading and writing skills, which can severely limit their ability to reintegrate into society and secure stable employment upon release. By providing greater access to books, which this resolution does, educational programs, and literacy training, we give these individuals the opportunity to better themselves and ultimately build more productive lives. Research has shown that improving literacy rates among incarcerated individuals significantly reduces the likelihood of reoffending. By fostering a culture of learning and personal development within our prison system, we can help break the cycle of recidivism and reduce the overall costs associated with incarceration. Every step that we take towards improving literacy within our prison is a step toward reducing crime, enhancing public safety, and creating a more just and equitable society. And I have to give credit to the Lackawanna County Literacy Committee and our library system. It's not just within the prison, although that's what we're voting on today, but it's in trying to improve literacy throughout Lackawanna County. And the literacy committee that we have here, led by Sandy Lamanna, has done a phenomenal job, and I know that they have a lot more announcements coming up in the future.
I'd like to add to, this is a benefit to the inmates. If people don't understand, access to hardcover books, softcover books is really almost non-existent, for the simple fact that they're able to sneak drugs in. Somehow they contaminate the paper, and, the inmates know what they're looking for there. But having these tablets, and there's enough for pretty much everybody in the prison, just gives them so many more options. And now with this increased volumes of different publishers, it's just going to be, it'll be a huge benefit to the inmates. So it's good stuff.
Thank you. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it, and the resolution has been approved. Resolution 24-0245.
This is approving the Office of Youth and Family Services Professional Service Agreements. Be it resolved that the Board of Commissioners of Lackawanna County is hereby approve the Department of Human Services Office of Youth and Family Services Agreements for fiscal year 24 through 25 with the following: Computer Aid Incorporated, Concerned Professional Services for Children, Youth, and Families, adopted regularly meeting the Board of Commissioners of Lackawanna County, held on October 2nd, 2024. Mr. Chairman, here to speak upon that is the Assistant Administrator of OYFS, Ms. Carrie Browning.
Good morning. First is a professional service agreement with CAI, who provides consulting services to the Office of Youth and Family Services and Juvenile Probation, including community pathways, the needs-based budget, and detention. The cost will not exceed $132,000, and it is reimbursed at 80% by the state. The second is a purchase of service agreement with Concern to provide foster care and supervised visitation for our children. The rate varies based on the age and the needs of the child for both the foster care and visitation, and it is reimbursed at 80% by the state.
Thank you. Any questions for Mrs. Browning?
And CAI is somebody we've been working with since the last fiscal year, correct? Right.
Yes.
Thank you. Any other questions? All those in favor of approving the resolution, or I'm sorry, no.
That's right.
That's right. All those in favor of approving the resolution signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it, and the resolution has been approved. Thank you. Resolution 24-0246.
Approving a quote from the District Attorney's Office. Be it resolved, the Board of Commissioners of Lackawanna County is hereby approve the quote from Thompson Reuters Westlaw for the District Attorney's Office to cost $370 a month for 12 months. Adopted regular meeting of the Board of Commissioners of Lackawanna County, held on October 2nd, 2024. Mr. Chairman, here to speak upon that is the District Attorney's Administrative Officer, Mr. Brian Flaherty.
Hi, Brian.
Good morning, Board of Commissioners. We ask that you approve Resolution 24-0246, which will amend a current contract with Westlaw for access to Westlaw's software for legal research. This amendment will include all of the federal courts in the country and their cases, which is very important when we're responding to appeals across the state here in Lackawanna County. It will cost an additional $370, and it'll run for 12 months.
Okay, thank you very much. Any questions for Mr. Finnerty? I'll entertain a motion to approve this resolution.
Motion?
Second.
On the question, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it, and the resolution has been approved.
Thank you.
Thank you. Now is the opportunity for the public to address the board.
Thank you. Good morning, Commissioners. I would like
Could you
to,
just state your name and your where you live?
I'm sorry.
Your name and where you live, just for the record.
My name is Ro Hume. I'm in Taylor Avenue in Scranton in the Hill section. A little bit off topic, perhaps, but I would like to tell a story about two sausage companies. One sausage company that offers a product that was once very, very popular but has now lost its flavor and its appeal. And another sausage company that sells a young, fresh sausage that is wonderful. Instead of choosing to improve the quality of their sausage, the company that is trying to remarket the old sausage is trying to limit the access points at which people can go to choose the new fresh sausage which people like. Anyone who chooses to draw an analogy between our current election is very free to do so. Trying to limit access to points at which people can express their support in the terms of our democracy is, in my mind, something that is not fit to be done. I think we need to make it easier for people to vote rather than make it harder for people to vote. And quite frankly, if people don't like your product and you feel a need to limit other people's ability to suppress support for others, my suggestion would be improve your product.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Would anyone else like to address the board?
Bob Wallace, Scranton. I'm here, first of all, to comments made by you, Mr. Gahan, last week, which I found very insulting and derogatory. Number one, when it comes to a felony, my felonies are being expunged by law. So you're aware of that. They're just waiting on a judge's signature for the last 3 months. So when we talk about somebody's character, address it. I'm going to show you here. It's from Child Hunger Outreach Partners. And I'm going to read it quickly. Dear Mr. Bolish, your gift will make a huge impact towards creating an entire generation that doesn't know hunger. Thank you so much for your kind donation of $150,000 on June 29, 2023. Your generosity has allowed us to look beyond the challenges of food insecurity and help support our full effort. There's more to the letter, but it's signed with deep gratitude, Danny Gruff, founder and CEO. That's number one. Number two, I donated a trailer to the city of Scranton at Weston Field of disinfectant wipes, one to Clark Summit on behalf of myself and my fellow Masons to the tune of $250,000. Another trailer went to Palestine, Ohio, valued $250,000 that I donated out. And for the last 30 years, Mr. Gahan, I've done a Christmas Day dinner in this community, feeding thousands and thousands of people on Christmas Day, where I spent every Christmas. You made your insult to me about everything else. I'd like you to match me. Between 81 and 92, I employed 1,200 people. Tell me when you generated a payroll and had to worry about how you're going to pay people. When you're quick to criticize, you lived off the system. We worked for our livings, driving trucks and everything else that we did to build a business and employ people in this community. We were builders, and we've gone through tough. Yeah, I got a felony, and I'll name the dirty lawyer, dirty cops, and dirty judges anytime you request it. I'll be glad to put it out on the table, and it's black and white. So when you're ready to challenge somebody, remember, respect is learned, not demanded, and you try to demand it. I put your trailer outside when you skunked us in Scranton. I put it out there today to show how you're skunking us in here. we had a voice to say about drop boxes because we believe in democracy. There was no need for them. Yet you people put them in to help support possibly corruption in the voting industry in this upcoming election. There was no need for them. People could do what they did in the past, eliminate the issues. Chris Kelly made a statement about me with my felony, and Chris Kelly's sitting there. I'd like to set him straight. When you talk about somebody with a felony, talk about what their good things too.
Mr. Bullis.
Maybe you need a lesson.
Mr. Bullis, address
that
the
goes
board.
to you too, Mr.
Address the
Gahan.
board.
Because of your comments, I had to deal with Chris Kelly in the newspaper today with his negative comment. What you did was totally, totally wrong. It's out of character what you guys should be doing here. And Matt, I've respected you. I followed you as a football player. I supported everything you did. I was proud as hell to see you out on the field and know what you represented. I was disappointed that you let Gahan get away with what he was doing to insult all of us here about the drop boxes, that we were stupid, ignorant people. Let me tell you something. You're not even in our class. You may think you're way above everybody, and you got issues with your own problems. Don't think you're better than anybody else. You're sure in hell not. You're appointed here, and when you insult people, as you did to each and every one of us here, what we stand for up is our democracy. You need a lesson in it. You need to respect everybody here, your fellow commissioner, your fellow workers. You're not above the law. You're not above anybody. And what you did was insulting, derogatory, and you owe every one of us an apology. Try and grow up and be a real man and understand your responsibility to the community and accept the position you were put in. You're not a god. You're not above all of us. You're just another person here, and you keep doing what you're doing, and we'll see that we take action on it.
Okay. Thank you. Mr. Bullis, one quick thing. No, you could sit down, but you mentioned your contributions to society. One of the greatest contributions that you could make to Lackawanna County is to pay your taxes. According to the Tax Claim Bureau, you owe over $900,000 in taxes. How about answering to all the people that are here who have to carry your water for you? Sit down. Thank you.
The taxes that
Next
are
up.
owed, you're going to
Thank
see a
you. Sit
lesson,
down,
Mr.
Bullis. You're
Gahan.
done.
You just
Thank you.
made a statement, and you're going to eat your words on why the taxes are owed.
Thank you. You
and
owe
what
over
this county did.
$900,000
Don't
in
thank
taxes.
me. You're
Please
in for
sit
a
down.
lesson. Watch what
Sit
happens,
down.
smart guy.
Sit down. Thank you.
Be quiet.
Would anyone else like to address the board?
Get it straight.
Sheriff, please remove him. He just threatened a woman in the front. Sure he did. Remove him. Get him out. Go ahead, ma'am.
Good morning. My name is Diana Dakey. I live in Glenburn Township. Am I okay? Good morning. I'm Diana Dakey. I live in Glenburn Township. I'm the judge of elections in our Glenburn Township.
Excuse me.
Here for what purpose?
Go ahead, ma'am. Go ahead, ma'am. You're disrupting the meeting, Mr. Bullis. Thank you.
That's me to leave. Chairman, you're asking that I be ejected?
At the advice of our solicitor, correct, Mr. Frederickson?
The meeting, and he's talking back to other people here. He has no business discussing.
Correct. Thank you. Go ahead, ma'am.
So you justified me being eliminated. Please, I'll walk out with you. You don't have to grab me. Okay, I asked them a question, why I'm being eliminated from a public meeting.
Pay your taxes. Take them out. Go ahead.
Tracy.
Thank you,
Sorry,
Commissioners.
can you start it back at 5 minutes, please?
I'll start over. Good morning. My name is Diana Dakey. I live in Glenburn Township. I'm the judge of elections in our Glenburn Township. I've worked 5 elections. I would like to compliment our Department of Elections here in Lackawanna County for their professionalism and their competence. I have the utmost confidence that they will run a tight ship this November for the election. I'm dismayed by the comments that I read in the paper of a recent Department of Elections meeting, and I'm confident that each voter can only vote once. There are procedures and redundancy to ensure that every voter only votes once. And I would encourage people who need to better inform themselves about the processes here in Pennsylvania and, of course, in Lackawanna County, that you could go to the Department of State website where you can read all about how to vote by mail, vote in person. You can even read about all the procedures that poll workers go through with their training. And you can read about the provisional ballot process. And so truly, there isn't fraud going on. And we have a registration process. Only registered voters vote. There's a voter ID process. Each new voter has to show ID upon the first time they vote. So we have a good process, and I would encourage people to support it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
My name is Mitch Grahowski. I'm from Clark Summit. I am a former reporter for the Scranton Tribune and a former president of the Scranton Newspaper Guild, which represented reporters and editors at that time of all the city newspapers. Old habits die hard, and I tend to follow commissioner meetings and Board of Election meetings as I did when I covered them as a newsman. I saw the last Board of Election meeting. It was an orderly event, except for some fellow that yelled from the back of the room and was ordered out, and he left quickly. The people that came up and asked questions, as an old newsman, I thought they were good questions, because quite honestly, I didn't have answers to some of them until they were answered right in the same meeting. So it was to my shock and dismay when what was looking to me like a respectful democratic event ended with a last word. And that last word was from Commissioner Gaughan, that he couldn't believe or was dismayed by the level of ignorance. Commissioner Gaughan owes an apology, not only to Republicans, but to Democrats and independents, because he failed to identify who among those speakers professed a level of ignorance. And I would urge that apology, unless he's made a decision not to run for re-election, and I thought about that too, because he's Hamburg for any Democrat who wants to come after his job and knows he'll get votes from Republicans and independents. Regarding the remarks also made by the commissioner, that two of the speakers were felons, I see a bitter irony that today he did the first reading of an ordinance to educate felons. The norm of society today is not to punish a felon for anything more than the felony committed, and sometimes not even that. And I find, and one thing, upon conviction, a felon does lose certain rights, but certainly not the right to free speech. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to address the board? Sure.
So, hi, I'm Sandy Lamanna. I live in Clark Summit, and I am the chairperson of the County Literacy Committee. So on changing the subject a little bit, in reference to the Literacy Committee previously, I would just like everybody to know that we created this committee about 18 months ago in response to the, literacy crisis in America, which also impacts our county. So we kicked off our year. We have a very ambitious agenda this year. We kicked it off last month with a presentation to all of our area physicians about the Reach Out and Read program, encouraging them to adopt that program and make reading part of every child's wellness checkup. But what I would like to do is extend an invitation to everybody to attend one of our events that we're having next Thursday. It will be at Lackawanna College at 6:30. We are going to be presenting a documentary that's being shown all over the country. Right now, the documentary is primarily being shown in major metropolitan areas. We will be the first smaller city to show this to our public. The documentary was produced by LeVar Burton. Our younger people in the crowd here will remember him from Reading Rainbow. All right, the more mature of us in the audience would remember him from Roots, right? So he produced this documentary. It's being shown all over the country, but equally important is that we're going to have an amazing panel discussion afterwards. We have a great panel. One of the members of the panel is Dr. David Kilpatrick. David Kilpatrick is a world-renowned literacy scholar. As all my friends know, I always refer to him as the Mick Jagger of the literacy world because you can't pick up one textbook, one article that David has not mentioned. So I would just like to extend an invitation to everybody and hope that you'll join us because we're fortunate to be able to air this documentary in our community next week.
Thank you very much.
And Sandy, for the record, you're a Rolling Stones fan, right?
Yes. Thank you. Would anyone else like to address the board?
Good morning, Evan Zavada. Excuse me. Good morning, Evan Zavada, 1004 Lucas Drive, Peckville. You're gonna have to excuse me here. I'm a little bit nervous. I don't usually come to these meetings. I fix appliances all day. So if you could just please bear with me. But we listened to some advisors come here today speak about the budget, and I have a few things to bring up on the budget. 2020, Commissioner Shermack and Notariani, they raised taxes 11.3%. And you had to do that because you're left with a mess because of the previous administration. But you made that decision, and you made that decision based on facts. And in fact, those were your words, Commissioner Shermack. We listened to the advisors come here today and give their presentation and their report full of its facts. And I'm just curious here, what's the difference now, Commissioner Shermack? They came here and they gave their speech, and you don't want to raise. They came here, they gave the speech, they gave their recommendations, and I feel like you're not going to go for it. So I just want to know, like, what changed now with this set of recommendations and this set of facts as opposed to what happened in 2020? I have a few things to say, and I really don't know how to get them all out here. But, you know, we had this health department set up by the county, a multi-million-dollar agency or whatever you want to call it. That costs a lot of money. You weren't aware that the county, that the state didn't cover a percentage of the costs. I'm a businessman, and so are you. And you know, I'm not running a county, but I feel like that's something that a commissioner should know. And then you made fun of the pandemic. You went to Dr. Oz's thing at Arcaro and Janelle's and cracked jokes about the pandemic. I mean, it's serious stuff, but I don't know. What else do I got? And I guess the final thing I have to say here is, you know, as a public official, nobody should be misusing county vehicles. And Commissioner Shermack, I believe that you took a county vehicle to a Republican consultant's golf tournament in Luzerne County. This was at Blue Ridge Trails on August 6th. Now, I think you would be pretty disappointed if the other two commissioners took county vehicles to, let's say, Holmesdale or outside the county to a Joe Biden fundraiser. So I would just hope that, you don't do this again, and apologize actually to the public for using it. In fact, I have images for the public. I have images of Mr. Shermack's vehicle, what I believe is Mr. Shermack's vehicle. Did you drive the vehicle there?
I'll explain.
Very well. Because I will file a right to know, but I will give you a chance to explain. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to address the board?
Well, first, let me
Chris.
respond. So we talk about facts. When I first became a commissioner, yeah, I was a businessman. Came from my family business. And every administration is always left with baggage of some sort from the previous administration. My baggage, one of them we're sitting in, this building, but another was a very important issue, was the pension fund for the county employees. The county pension fund was not funded for, I'm going to say 13 years. I don't remember exactly how many years, but it was a long time. It was not properly funded, and it was in pretty bad shape, which continues to today. We had to take measures to somehow fund that pension fund. In order to do that, we had to reopen a budget that was handed to us, which, if I remember correctly, Commissioner Notarianni wanted to fund the pension fund before they approved this budget. Did not happen, so we had to reopen that. You only have so many days to do that, to make any changes and reissue the budget. So we did that, and we had I had some of my financial people here, and we looked at everything and tried to figure every which way we could do this without having to raise taxes. Well, in a matter of a short time, it was kind of impossible to figure an alternative. So we had to make that tough decision. Probably one of the hardest decision I made as a commissioner, which I was a commissioner for approximately, 2 weeks. I don't regret the decision. I'm not happy that I had to raise taxes. I had to raise taxes for myself, my family, my family's business, and everyone else that lives in Lackawanna County. But unfortunately, we had to do it, and we had to do it as our obligation to protect this pension fund. Now, looking back, it's always 2020 when you look back, and it's easy to say, well, probably if I had more experience as a commissioner back then, maybe we would have had a different idea, or maybe I would have had a different idea. In the last 4 years, I've had a lot of on-the-job training here. I learned how to deal with multi-million dollar budgets and worldwide pandemics, and you name it. We had a lot thrown at us, and I'm pretty sure we did a good job. And as far as comments made, we'll go back to facts. Yeah, I took a county vehicle to an event. It was to honor the death of, PJ, help me with his name. Pat Solano. Pat Solano was an individual, kind of a remarkable individual that was an advocate and an advisor to everybody, not just Republicans, but everybody. Worked for different administrations and is a legend. And they had a memorial service that day. They had military, he was a pilot in the military. And not only he was a good friend to all of us. They had military flyovers. They had a great event for him, and I was at that event to represent Lackawanna County as a commissioner. So, very simple. That's what I did. So, thank you.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to address the board?
Joan Hodawan at Scranton. Let's get back to important issues like money. Commissioner Gahn, I remember early in the year, I may have misheard this. I was asking about the county's annual audit for 2023, and I asked, was it completed? And I believe you said it was.
It was, and so I talked to Mr. Bolzoni. I made a statement up here that we were going to have a public meeting with the auditor, but after consulting with Mr. Bolzoni, we both felt that it would make more sense to combine those meetings when this audit comes out, which we hope that will be January.
Okay.
Instead of confusing the issues, because there's so many numbers being thrown around.
That's fine.
So it is going to happen.
I was waiting for that shoe to drop.
Okay.
Is the audit available online yet, or are you going to wait till after this meeting?
The audit is available online,
Okay.
yes.
All right, thank you. With regard to this brouhaha about what happened at the election board meeting, I did not go to the meeting. I didn't view it on YouTube or anything else, but I did happen to listen to WILK radio as I was cleaning my messy apartment. Have to have something, to do while you're cleaning. And a number of people called into various hosts, and these were not convicted felons. These were not former county commissioners. These are people who had attended the meeting and had spoken up about the issue, and some were pro, some were con, but they all felt insulted, okay? So I don't know what was said, what wasn't said. I saw the article in the paper. My only observation is this. You're a county commissioner. You have to take the high road, even when somebody pushes your buttons. When I was in the military, and I had a misbehaving soldier come before me for military discipline, I couldn't, I've had fellow officers who would, read them the riot act and walk up one side of them and down the other. That usually accomplished nothing. You would be able to vent your anger, okay? That usually accomplishes nothing. So my only recommendation to you is, whether you're in the right or the wrong, but especially when you're in the right, maintain your cool, be professional, don't resort to anything that even approaches calling names. If there were convicted felons and they paid their dues to society, that should not be brought up again. It really shouldn't, unless you have reason to believe they didn't pay their dues to society. If you disagreed with a prior commissioner, that's fine. But please, stay above the fray, okay? Because all you do is lose credibility when you start acting in that way, okay? I think you can perform better in the future. Thank you.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to address the board?
Good morning. My name is Suzanne Green. I am a county resident of Benton Township. I was at the meeting, the election board meeting last week, and I did speak to the commissioners. I felt that it was a very respectful group of concerned citizens. I thought that there was a good dialogue, that they were making their concerns known, both for drop boxes, against drop boxes, for other things, against other things, and it was a back and forth. And people should be able to make their opinions known in a respectful, honest, and fair way. And I felt that the meeting did progress as predicted. It was predictable that there was going to be some opposition. But what wasn't predicted was the closing statement. The closing statement by a commissioner who then berated individuals, called us names, told us we were ignorant, was very disrespectful to the common citizen, just acting as their own rights and duties require. Our rights and our duty as citizens requires us to come and let our elected officials know our concerns. That is what I hope to do today and what I hope to do at future ones. This is my very first county commissioner meeting that I've ever attended. And I'm here today because I'm concerned about some things. There's a need to be concerned. When we're putting more drop boxes in, we're also taking away polling places. The same with the sausage. We have sausages that need to be purchased, right? Well, what about the polling places that were closed? I believe that there were 8 polling places that were closed that day.
No,
I may be wrong. It could be.
You were wrong. They
Yes.
weren't closed. They were reassigned for
Okay.
various reasons that the director of elections explained. So I
They
just want to
were
correct you on that.
consolidated, perhaps, especially the Old Forge polling places. I believe there was 4 Old Forge polling places that were consolidated into one, removing the options for people who live in Old Forge to have more places to go and vote. I have not been to all of the election board meetings, and I haven't read all the minutes. But if they're closing polling places at the same time that they're saying we need more options to drop mail-in ballots, then really, is that fair? What is that about? I don't know the reasons behind that. And I don't see the budget in the actual documents, the financial statements for election board, I believe it's 106. I looked at the financial statements, I didn't see a budget for drop boxes. Does it exist? Please let someone, contact me and let me know about that financial statement. I'd like to know what you're budgeting for the drop boxes. What's the amount of money that our county is going to pay for drop boxes? And how many ballots are you expecting to be put into drop boxes? How much is it going to cost for the sheriff's office to go out and collect it every day? And most of them are only open Monday through Friday. So what about the options on the weekend? Are there any options on the weekend? I don't think so. What about the 24-hour surveillance? Is there going to be surveillance for that? Is it going to be online? Where's that equipment coming from? Who's looking at that surveillance after the videos are actually taken? There's many questions that are left unanswered. All of those questions cause public confidence to decrease in the election process. The electoral process needs to be fair, free, safe. But when you undermine it by calling citizens names and really making them feel like they can't even come and speak to a board, then that undermines their confidence in the long run. Look, I'm an avid volunteer. I'm a founder of the Northern Lackawanna County Food Share. I founded that in 2016. It's the largest food share in the county, all volunteer. In COVID time, 2020, we gave out food every 2 weeks to over 1,200 families. It's our right and our duty as citizens to do what we can.
Thank you, Susan.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Would anyone else like to?
Commissioner, just as a point of clarification, no polling places have been closed. Before the Board of Election meetings, there was 163 precincts. There is today 163 precincts. Some of them were consolidated or relocated because of issues out of our control, whether it be remodeling of buildings or demolition of buildings and a fire in the one ward. But there are still 163 polling precincts in Lackawanna County.
So just to be clear, there have been no polling places that have been closed. In
No
other words-
polling places have been closed, Commissioner.
Thank you. Very good. Would anyone else like to address the board? Sure.
Frank Serafini from Music. Fortunately, I'm not concerned about the boxes as much as I used to be because they're locked up and I don't know who's going to do what. But if anyone is cheating with them, obviously they're not going to be prosecuted, but I don't think it would affect an election. My purpose here is because of the sheriff's sale that just went on recently. There were many, many houses for sale. at the sheriff's sale because people could not afford to pay their taxes. And as a result, one family purchased maybe $300,000 to $400,000 worth of properties. When they get those properties, they approach the people in the home and say, "Do you want the property? Give us another $4,000 or $5,000 and you could have your property back. Otherwise, get out of the house." Now, that to me is inhumane, but it's the way the system works, and it creates homelessness. The other properties that were sold, the majority of them were sold to people from out of town, and many of them become homes for the illegals and the migrants that have become very popular in the United States, and especially because Scranton is a city that accepts them. So I think there's an issue there with regard to how we can handle some of this, and maybe you could come up with an idea, because I can't. But family services is, the budget, according to what I've read, is $21,520,000. Human services, $616,000. I think it would be great if there was some way someone could educate the people who are losing their homes to find a way to at least make payments. I attended hearings a few years ago, and I noticed a family. The husband passed away. The woman had an unwed child, a daughter. They lived in a home. Their home was being taken away, and Ron Kaljeski, Giraldo was a judge, and Ron Kaljeski gave them a buyout. Well, it was impossible for them to reach that buyout. So eventually, they're going to be homeless, and that poor child, God bless him, he was dressed in rags. I don't know where he's going to end up. And the other issue that I have is, one of the issues is that correctional care could use a forensic audit. I brought this up many times. It was seconded at a prison board meeting. And the reason I say that is because I understand there may be a number of services that were paid for but not received. And it would behoove the commissioners to at least audit them so that perhaps there might be an amount that could offset this $35 million debt. And I'm only hoping that the tax increase will not force more families out of their homes, because it's become a big issue in Lackawanna County. People are living under bridges with tents. It's really sad, and I don't think it's at all totally necessary. And with the influx of the migrants and the illegals and some of the people that I see at 300 Meadow Avenue, it's not going to be an easy task for us to deal with that. The other thing is this, the assessment. I am told by a very reliable source that an assessor came to their house. They were talking to them, and they were told not to assess homes with illegal immigrants or immigrants, and not to assess a home with dogs or gates. I don't know how true that is, but I know
Not true, Frank.
Huh?
Up here, Frank. Not true.
Well, the assessor was told a
Whoever
very
told him
close
that.
relative of mine.
Okay, well, that's not true.
Okay, I hope not.
It's not.
Because the assessor spent a day and a half measuring my house, and I think he wanted my shoe size. So, so I hope it's out pretty much, the on board, and unlike the way it was in Mount Pocono when Tyler Associates did the assessment up there. But thank you for your time, and I know you have a tough job, and God bless everybody, especially me. Thank you.
Thanks, Frank.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to address the board?
Good morning, Kara Francis, Roaring Brook Township. Today I'm going to just refrain from asking questions and rather share. No wiggle room. Commissioners unveil new county ethics and conflict of interest policy. That was the headline in the Scranton Times on February 7, 2024. Commissioner Gahn is quoted as saying, "Upholding ethics in the county government is absolutely paramount to ensuring trust, integrity, and accountability as we serve the residents of Lackawanna County." A follow-up article in the Lackawanna County dealing with the county ethics code published on August 8th in the Scranton Times read it. The code enumerates core values, including honesty, integrity, fairness, accountability, and respect. It includes language on conflicts of interest, undue influence, specifically affirming members of the county boards, authorities, and other local public bodies will disclose known or potential conflicts and voluntarily remove themselves from voting and discussion when conflicts occur. Commissioner Gahn, you're quoted as stating, "The measure is vital to ensure we as commissioners uphold the highest standards of integrity and transparency and accountability in our governance." Commissioner McGloin, you're quoted as stating, "The people of Lackawanna County deserve board members to be honest, responsible, fair, and protective of the public's interest. You deserve board members who represent you in the appropriate manner and will always do not what's popular, but what is right." So with that being said, Commissioner McGloin, what I believe is right for you at this time is for you to follow your own ethics code and voluntarily remove yourself from the Board of Elections for the upcoming presidential election. Allow the Court of Common Pleas to decide your replacement. How can we feel confident that you're going to be impartial when you attended the Democratic National Convention? How can we trust you after listening to your prepared speech that was read at last week's board meeting? And Commissioner Gahn, with all due respect, you expect us to hold you to the highest standards of integrity. And when you stated that last week at the Board of Elections meeting, the level of ignorance, stupidity, and misinformation that was portrayed today as democracy, that it was striking and shocking. As a former civics teacher, I sat up here today and I listened to some of you get up. It pained me. It actually bothered me. Well, honestly, it pained me. And it pains me today. And it bothered me. And I stand here today and I remind you, sir, just like everyone's been saying, follow your ethics code, your oath of office, and essentially our right to peacefully assemble, petition our government, and redress our grievances.
Thanks, Kara. Would anyone else like to address the board?
Hello, my name's Rick Little. I'm from Scranton, and I watched the recording of the election board thing, and I was really dismayed because I don't think most people around here saw it or know how their government works or anything like that. We're living in a world of illusion, and they keep using this word democracy. We need our democracy. I see it as there's 10 ways to Sundays to cheat in elections, and the whole stuffing of drop boxes is just one of them. We're coming up to an election, and there's great national focus on Lackawanna County, probably more focus on Lackawanna County than any other county in the United States. And the reason for that is the media, which is totally gone. As for credibility, and yet that's, democracy. People are going to decide their vote. And it's all put, Republican or Democrat or, one side or the other. But there's a bully thing going on
all over Lackawanna County. I can attest to that. The way the judges talk, the way the officials talk, it's like, I'm going to call the sheriff. People better start understanding what the difference is between a police officer and a sheriff. I had an awful time. I've been evicted since February 5th when the sheriff came, took all my possessions, and I've been on an odyssey. I've been doing everything that the county says and the city says, and I thought somebody up there might be interested in it, but what I came to the conclusion of is this word democracy around here, it really doesn't mean anything. And I want to put the focus here is because Joe Biden. I've looked. I went through the reason I got here is like looking at Joe Biden. He's a guy that's been in the government for what, 47, 48 years, and he's the legislative guy, and I'm seeing patterns with the Violence Against Women Act, which he wrote, which is instrumental in the family courts, and which are given to the states. The family courts. I mean, I dealt with them for 15 years, and that's where judges start, and that's the most funded court, and it's tearing apart American families. And I just see with our border wide open, communism is happening. But saying the word communism really doesn't mean anything. It's just like fascism, just like Republican, just like Democrat. I want to say a fact here, because I've been watching the depositions, with Mark Zuckerberg on Facebook, and I've been getting a lot of information. And I just want to say, as a fact, that Joe Biden is dead. He's been dead for years. And
there you go. Okay, sir, thank you. You could sit down now. You could sit down now. Joe Biden's alive and well.
I can't.
That pretty much sums it up, folks.
Just saying that is.
Okay, your time is up, please. Thank you.
Okay.
Thanks.
Well, I hope this recording stays on, because you will find out.
It will be, sure. Thank you so much. Would anyone else like to address the board? Don, can we confirm that Joe Biden is alive and well?
I believe so, Commissioner, yes.
I just saw him on TV.
I'm on TV last night.
Charlie, go ahead.
My name is Charlie Spano, Commissioners. I live on Stafford Avenue, Scranton, and since the die has been cast and the drop boxes have been deployed, I have some comments regarding their security and their backup. Number one, there are currently, on the most recent spreadsheet I have, 23,827 applications for mail-in ballots. Now, all of them will not be returned, but at the Board of Elections meeting, Commissioner Gahn, among all your pertinent remarks, you indicated that the last round of collection of mail-in ballots was somewhere between 2,000 and 2,300 for all the boxes deployed, which was 6. It's now 5. Am I correct on that? 5?
You are correct, yes.
Okay. So.
Or there are 6 now.
There are 6.
Yes.
All right. So if 6 boxes generate 2,300 mail-in ballots out of 23,000 applications at a 10-to-1 ratio, why is the county then deploying a deputy, a voter registration clerk, to go out and collect the ballots at a rate of pay? Do they go out during the day? If they go out during the day, are there any mail-in ballots in the boxes? Or do they go at night when overtime might become an issue for their pay? on average, if you combine the salaries of the deputy and the voter registration clerk, you're looking at about $10,000 for the next 34 days if they go out daily. You go out more than that or have overtime, that's going to be an increased factor. That is a retrieval return on investment of $5 or more per mail-in ballot, when it only costs a citizen 65 cents to mail it. 10 times the number of ballots will be mailed than will be collected from the drop boxes. There's an old saying, you heard some comments regarding finances today. You just approved a measure to get money in to cover a pending hole in the budget. Watch the pennies. The dollars will take care of themselves. We don't have the time or we don't have the money necessarily to do this. And someone previously referenced a line item budget regarding drop boxes. Is there one, or is that just lumped in with the whole elections board operating fund?
I would suggest that after this meeting, with all due respect, that you go down to the second floor to the Bureau.
I have
to. There you go. Go to the Bureau of Elections and ask Beth Hopkins all of the questions that you have, and I guarantee you that you will be able to answer every single one of them.
I would have a great deal of confidence in Beth.
Well, then you should have a great deal of confidence in the overall process. But Charlie, and honest to God, go down to the second floor when this meeting's over, and she will take you from start to finish, the budget and everything. This is not some conspiracy theory. Just go down and ask her, and she'll give you the answers that you're looking for.
I was so looking forward to believing in a conspiracy.
Well, there you go.
I don't think my master's degree has an expiration date on it.
Okay.
Unless I'm completely stupid today.
Just go to the second floor and ask
Thanks.
the questions. You'll get the answers, trust me. Would anyone else like to address the board?
Hi, Commissioners. I'm Jerry Carey. I'm on Clark Summit Council, and we do have the drop box in Clark Summit, and it's under the surveillance of our police department. We have 2 senior living apartments in Clark Summit, and we did a registration and a mail-in ballot at both of them. It was done on Republican and Democrat sides. These people are very grateful to have the drop box. They said ordinarily they wouldn't even be able to vote if they couldn't use the drop box. So I thank you for continuing that. And any help we can be, we're there for you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jerry.
Would anyone else like to address the board? Sir?
Michael Beamish, Lackawanna County. I know the budget's tight, but just a recommendation, is there any way we can get a different alarm system when time goes off? On a serious note, I would first like to begin by commending all the commissioners for your dedication and your civic involvement. I was at the meeting last week, the Board of Elections, and I was appalled at the final word statement that came out. As a former civics teacher, Mr. Gahn, you should recognize that when you took the oath of office, that you represent everyone in Lackawanna County, regardless of a political affiliation. It's natural. You can think what you want to think. You can feel what you want to feel. But when it comes out of your mouth in a public meeting, spewing name-calling and derogatory comments, personal attacks, it goes against the whole concept of democracy. You began the meeting by stating and outlining rules of decorum that were supposed to take place in that meeting, and specifically stated that there was to be no name-calling. And as somebody spoke earlier, there was a gentleman in the back who left, who was spouting something, not in order. But for that was the only time there was any name calling that was done during that meeting, with the exception of you. So there's a level of hypocrisy, kind of like establishing rules for thee but not for me, that existed in that meeting. Again, not to beat a dead horse, I do want to bring up one other point. Several of the speakers in last week's meeting asked questions regarding the party affiliation for poll workers. Poll workers are those workers that are hired by the county to assist in the election process to ensure the integrity of the election. Several of the questions revolved around the party affiliation. At the end of the meeting, I forgot her name, I have it written here somewhere. Is it, what's that? Director Hopkins stated that she did not know the party affiliation of the people that were hired, as it's not a question that's asked. There's a lawsuit currently filed by the GOP, a massive lawsuit against the state of Michigan, city of Detroit, for the same very reason. Those are taxpayer funds that are used to hire poll workers. In the city of Detroit, they hired 600 poll workers, 540 of them were Democrats. So I just wanted to point that out to you. Maybe you can look at that and develop a process in which there's a bipartisan representation for those poll workers that work in the election. That's all I have.
Thank you.
Thank you, Michael.
Would anyone else like to address the board? Oh, ma'am, I'm sorry, you already spoke, so you don't get a second bite at the apple. Ma'am, please sit down.
I do.
Ma'am, you do not have an opportunity to speak a second time.
I
Please
was
sit down.
fact-checked, and I
Please
did
sit
check on the
down.
polling locations.
Ma'am, I'm going to remove you from the meeting. You do not get a second opportunity to address the board.
Okay,
Sit
okay.
down,
Can I-
or go stand in the back. We don't make the rules up. Those are the rules. Follow them. Would anyone else like to address the board?
I was fact-checked.
Ma'am, Sheriff, would you please remove this woman from the meeting? We're not going to have someone disrupt the meeting. Follow the rules, please. Thank you. Go ahead. Hi.
My name is Ann Harrington, and I live in Scranton. This is anything that's what's being discussed today. I just want to compliment you, Billy. You are the best representative we have. You are dressed impeccably every day, and you show up every day. You don't show up on payday. You show up on every day. And we're so proud of you. And everybody in this room and in this city and county should take a good lesson from you and see how you're dressed every day, especially our school children and the teachers and the school district. They go to school dressed like they jumped out of Grandma's rag bag in the attic. That's all I have to say.
Thank you. Full disclosure, Ann is my neighbor. Thanks, Ann. See that? Being honest. Would anyone else like to address the board? Okay. Okay. Thank you. Commissioners, other business? Commissioner Chermak?
So she watches you leave every day?
She does. She
Make sure
watches
you're
me leave and
dressed
come home.
Well, I'd like to begin by remembering the lives that were lost and those who are suffering from this hurricane that we've just witnessed. You know, and that our thoughts and prayers are with everyone affected by this devastating event. It serves as a reminder how quickly things can change and the importance of coming together at these times. So, you know, let's all keep them in our thoughts and prayers. And I want to thank you to the residents of Lackawanna County who shared their comments today. I hear you. I understand that many of you are deeply upset, feeling as though your concerns are being ignored or tossed aside. This country is, you know, it's divided. And with this upcoming election, tensions are running at an all-time high. We're all feeling the strain. It is more important now than ever that we come together and listen to one another. I want to personally thank everyone who attended the meeting and had the courage to voice their concerns. Your participation is crucial, and it's through open dialogue that we can work towards solutions that benefit everyone. I remain committed to representing all residents of Lackawanna County and ensuring that your voices are heard and respected. You know, as a county commissioner, I find deeply disturbing that last week, the Democrat Majority Commissioner Gahn has chosen to refer to public comments as stupid, painful, many other things. This language is just unprofessional. It's not just unprofessional, it's unacceptable, and it shows the blatant disregard for the residents we were elected to serve. I'm appalled by those comments. As a commissioner, I represent all residents of Lackawanna County, regardless of their viewpoints, and I will not stand by while our citizens are disrespected in such a manner. Dismissing concerns by insulting the public and suggesting they need a civics lesson is a gross misuse of authority and only deepens the division in our community. It is not the role of any elected official to degrade or belittle the very people who put us in this office. We're here to listen, to engage in respectful dialogue, and to represent all voices, not just the ones that we agree with. The residents of Lackawanna County deserve better, and I will continue to demand that we as leaders uphold the standard of professionalism and respect in all interactions. Anything less is a disservice to the public trust and to the office that we hold. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner McGuinn.
Thanks, everyone, and enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you. We have, through the years, exhibited high tolerance for the misinformation that has been spewed by people looking to cause chaos in our elections. I find it absolutely fascinating that these same people are then shocked when someone calls them out and simply tells the truth. What you have heard today from some people and what you have read and what you saw at the election board meeting is manufactured outrage. I will continue to respond when people try to mislead the public, and I will not apologize because I didn't do anything wrong. I'd like to correct the record and correct also Commissioner Chermak. I did not call anyone a name. I didn't call anybody stupid. I simply said that some of the rhetoric and arguments that were being made were, in my opinion, and I have a right to my opinion, filled with misinformation, ignorance, and stupidity. The definition of stupidity, for those of you who have access to a dictionary, is behavior that shows a lack of good sense or judgment. So when people get up at these meetings and they insinuate that people are stuffing the drop boxes with ballots and there might be something going on, it's all a bunch of nonsense. There is zero evidence anywhere in the United States of systemic voter fraud of any kind. The wild cries of fraud and potential malfeasance are from people who are dedicated to suppressing voting rights. And I'll remind all of you of a great quote from former President Obama, and I truly mean this. He gave this speech, I believe it was to the graduates of Princeton, and he said, "It's not cool to not know what you're talking about." Mr. Spano got up here today and had all these questions and insinuations. Take a walk down to the second floor, for the love of God, and stop into the Elections Bureau, ask your questions, and they will answer them for you. There is no reason to stand up and insinuate all of these things. It's a very, very clear process that has been employed for decades, and there's many people in our elections office who have been working there for decades. Our elections office is second to none throughout the state of Pennsylvania. The people of Lackawanna County can be assured with 100% confidence that this election, like all other elections, will be carried out in an independent and fair manner like it always has been. The drop boxes are secure, and there is nothing to fear and there is nothing to worry about. I never thought I'd quote a German philosopher, but I want to take a second and quote Hannah Arendt. She said the following: "This constant lying is not aimed at making the people believe a lie, but at ensuring that no one believes anything anymore. A people that can no longer distinguish between truth and lies cannot distinguish between right and wrong. And such a people, deprived of the power to think and judge, is, without knowing and willing it, completely subjected to the rule of lies." With such a people, you can do whatever you want. Our election is free and it is fair. And it is unfortunate that some people get up and insinuate that it is not. What I simply said at the election board meeting is the arguments that certain people were making were filled with misinformation, ignorance, and stupidity. That's not name calling. Folks, that's the truth. If you have a question about the election, as I said before, go down and talk to the woman who's been running elections and has worked in that office for years. Her name is Beth Hopkins. I was just down there this morning. She will have an answer to every question that is asked. The rest is all smoke and mirrors. Don't believe it. Don't buy into it. We're going to run the election as we always have in Lackawanna County with the dedicated people that we have in that office. Most of those people they make between $30,000 and $40,000. Do you really think that they're going to put their whole life on the line to swing an election? It's total nonsense. Don't believe it and don't buy it. And the manufactured outrage, people got up here and said, Commissioner Gahn, you call people names. I didn't call anybody a name. I told the truth. And if you want to come up here and talk to me, get used to it. I've been doing it since I was a councilman in Scranton. You may not agree with me. I've always been respectful, but I will always, always tell the truth. Thank you. And with that, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion.
On the question, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. This meeting's adjourned. Thank you, everyone.